नमस्कार। आज मंडे 23 मई 2022 को डॉक्टर KK SCFI हार्ट केयर फाउंडेशन ऑफ इंडिया के इस प्रोग्राम चैट विद डॉक्टर KK SCFI में हमारे सभी व्यूअर्स का जो DR KK अग्रवाल पेज पे यूट्यूब फेसबुक से जुड़े उनका सबका स्वागत है। और आज का हमारा जो टॉपिक है, मंडे को एनवायरनमेंट का हम प्रोग्राम रखते हैं और आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है प्लास्टिक पोल्यूशन एंड वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट इम्पैक्ट्स ऑन रिवर वाटर एंड फूड सिक्योरिटी। आप सभी जानते हैं जो प्लास्टिक प्रोडक्ट्स हैं दे आर इंटीग्रल पार्ट ऑफ आवर डेली लाइफ और दे आर द बेसिकली you can say basic needs। और वर्ल्ड वाइड we produce about 300 million tons of plastic products every year, just huge quantity of the plastic product। जी, India generates about 15 million tons of the plastic waste every year। और जो प्लास्टिक का जो ब्रॉड रेंज ऑफ एप्लीकेशंस है, शॉपिंग एंड गार्बेज बैग्स और कंटेनर्स, टॉयज, हाउस होल्ड आइटम्स, फर्नीचर, इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्ट्स, पैकेजिंग एंड रैपिंग मटेरियल, बिल्डिंग मटेरियल, पाइप्स, सब जगह इसका प्लास्टिक का यूज होता है। बट इट ऑल्सो फैक्ट प्लास्टिक आर नॉन बायोडिग्रेडेबल, means they will never degrade and will become the thousands and thousands year in the environment, and they will find and remain in the landscape and water bodies for several years अगर एक बार डंप हो गए। So indiscriminate dumping of plastic waste in land or water body, this becomes for the infinite time and thus causing a lot of problem in the city area for the flooding and other choking of the drainage system, sewage system. Burning also, if you do that in the landfill, the plastic products generate very toxic gases such as dioxin, furans, HCl, styrene, benzene. And out of the 300 million tons generated, these are plastic products, only particularly about 1/4 is recycled, particularly I am talking about with respect to India। and इसमें से भी जो particularly the non जो recycled plastic waste है such as multi-layered metallic जो pouches हैं and other जो है such kind of thermosets plastic poses very disposal problem। they are because they are not being picked up by even the waste pickers and they are not even recycled। This leads to burden on the landfill sites and the very, very unhygienic conditions in the surrounding area because these are dumped from railway line side, road side, and also sometimes in the water bodies, drains, sewage system। So there are various issues and including the finding in the way in our river system and causing a lot of the, because these also up with thermal disintegration, they convert into microplastic, they enter in the food chain and causing a lot of health related problems। So with this background, I'll welcome our guest today, Mr. Amit Jain। Amit Jain ji he is the नमस्कार अमित जी। जस्ट तो अमित जी का इंट्रोडक्शन देते, ही इज अवर ओल्ड फ्रेंड। बहुत हम लोगों ने फॉर सो मेनी इयर्स से इस फील्ड में कई जगह एक साथ ही किया है, बाहर भी अब्रॉड भी कई विजिट किए साथ साथ में किसी डिफरेंट कॉन्फ्रेंसेस में। एंड मिस्टर अमित जैन, ही इज द मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर ऑफ द IRG सिस्टम साउथ एशिया लिमिटेड and he is around 30 years experience in the field of the environment and जो इसके natural resources में, and about 25 years experience he is in the field of the waste management, all solid waste management, e-waste management, plastic waste management, biomedical waste management, and he's worked with different multilateral and bilateral agencies and visited so many countries। He has vast experience in number of the project he is handled with the different international agencies। He is also currently working as a consultant to UNEP on the plastic waste management। So he is a very very renowned person in the field, particularly जो आज टॉपिक लिया है. और मैं अमित जी का आपके डॉक्टर के शिफ है वेलकम करते हुए रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे कि आज के सब्जेक्ट में पहले अपना थोड़ा सा बैकग्राउंड देते हुए देन वी विल हैव द इंटरेक्टिव डिस्कशन विद जी अमित जैन जी. ओवर टू अमित जैन जी. नमस्कार.
So nice of you, sir. And my name is Amit Jain, as you already know, and working in environment area for the last 30 years, mainly on the waste management, water resources, and sustainability. Current area of interest is circularity and sustainability. I have been involved in solid waste management, particularly plastic waste management, for the last 15 years. And I have designed number of projects in Asia Pacific region and in India for plastic waste management. And it is one of the important topic, as Dr. Anil has rightly pointed out. And we need to do something about it. That's what I feel, and collectively we can make it happen.
Yeah. So Amit ji, मेरा first आपसे ये है view कि about this plastic situation in the cities and rural area, that particularly. I mean, because this is the different scenario in the cities and also rural area, because every in rural villages also plastic is being used. So what is the current scenario in the situation of this plastic waste and this its management?
If we look at our cities, no doubt there is a perceptible change with the onset of Swachh Bharat mission. But all our cities lack the infrastructure. We lack the infrastructure for disposal, segregation, as well as recycling. On all the three fronts, we are lacking. So a lot of things need to be done in order to, first we need to streamline the segregation of plastic waste. Then we need to provide the infrastructure for recycling as well as final disposal of the plastic waste. We need to prevent the plastic waste from entering into our river systems, which are the major lifeline uh, of our country, for our population. In every field, we have to see that they are preserved, the water quality is preserved, and they continue to serve the population which they are meant for. And we have to live, uh, we have to work towards survival of these uh, rivers and water streams. It's a very important topic because they are responsible for providing us the lifeline, considering they are the major factors for our agriculture. Water is livelihood as well as for uh, providing so many things. Our civilization has grown since centuries on the river banks. So we have to see our cities, we have to take care of this waste. Generally, littering we see in our cities, and littering, if we have taken care of, then at least from the city side, they will not, plastic will not leak into the river system. In rural area, we have to see how we can manage our waste management system, particularly for the plastic waste, how gram panchayats, how rural areas need to institutionalize the waste collection system, which can finally go into the waste management chain and into the recycling process. Plastics which cannot be recycled have to be disposed of in a proper way. We cannot load our landfills also, so we have to provide different ways. Either we have to provide alternatives to the plastics so that population have affordable alternatives for plastics. Second is, if we are not able to provide the alternatives, then what kind of disposal system we have, final disposal system we have, so that the volume of plastic is reduced.
But Amit ji, this is in practice may yeah, because cities may every municipality they have the some kind of even a segregated collection system. Maybe not a whole city, but in some part of city. But particularly in towns and rural area, this become a really menace. I mean that was the because there's no provision of the separate segregation system, and ultimately everything is collected and finally disposed of the in the some places or the in the kind of a small pond or water body is dumped. We find so how can we? I mean, this because municipality they have some arrangement, they have funds, but in town area and the rural area, this is really become menace. I mean that way.
Yes. So we have to again design small systems, collection systems for our villages and towns. Uh, there is something called individual responsibility. And I think we should make aware the population that they should be able to segregate or separate the plastic waste right at the source. In the rural area, it is very important. And if the population is made aware, then they will take measures. There is no doubt. Like I said, that we have to provide the supporting infrastructure. Now, how can we do that? We have to devise this decentralized waste management system. We have to provide centers, some centers where this sort of plastic waste can be collected in a way, in such a way that it provides a critical mass. Once that critical mass is achieved, they can be transported to the nearest recycling center. It will become cost effective for that. Gram panchayats have a major role to play. They are just like small municipality, and they can feed this type of waste to the nearest city where a sustainable disposal system should be created to take care of this kind of waste.
Uh, Amit ji, if
So
it is not suppose, yeah, if it is not properly done, then how is going to likely to affect our the food and water security? I mean, this is very important because this is converted to microplastic because this is not collected after the thermal disintegration going to be our the in the water and the food chain. So how this is going to a very major challenge for this? Yeah.
absolutely. Right now, we don't have a baseline to see the impacts, but it is going to be a major problem within 10 years. And once we see the microplastics in our soil systems and in our water systems, then we will come to know. So there is a need for mapping of all our water resources to see the baseline, to see the extent of the problem. We have done it in a small way in our project in 3 or 4 places in Ganga Valley, in Ganga Basin. Now the question comes: Ganga is a huge river. I'm taking Ganga as a example. It's a huge river, and it supports the different life forms. It has created, a kind of an agriculture system as well, which is considered to be the grain bowl of this country. Now, in the long run, this problem will magnify to such an extent that the type of plastics which comes from these cities or from the land, they can pollute the entire cropping system of the country. So when we talk about the cropping system, we see that this plastic, when broken into micro plastics, uh, they will get transported uh, uh, with the water system or agriculture system. Then it will get absorbed in our soil, and from the soil, it will be uptaken by the plants or the crops. So in a way, it has the potential to pollute our uh, agriculture system, or in a way our cropping system, in a way our food chain. And once it enters into the food chain, be it food chain from fishes or different organisms in the water system, be it agriculture system, it can be even absorbed by the earthworms.
Yes, Amit ji. Hello. 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 I think. Hello. Hello. Amit ji, I think कुछ इंटरनेट में इशू में डिस्कनेक्शन. सो ही वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट कि जो पर्टिकुलरली जब ये प्लास्टिक्स है जो हम लोग डिस्कार्ड करते हैं और इधर उधर जो है लिटरिंग करते हैं, और जब वो कहीं पे भी, चाहे वो रोड साइड है या रेलवे साइड में है या वाटर बॉडीज के किनारे पे पड़ा, अल्टीमेटली जब ये वाटर बॉडी में चला जाता है तो ऊपर से जो सन है, हीट की वजह से आजकल जो टेम्परेचर बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है, और उससे ये जो जो प्लास्टिक्स हैं, चाहे वो बैग के हों या और कोई शीट्स हैं या और कोई आइटम हो, वो धीरे धीरे उस टेम्परेचर से थर्मल डिसइंटीग्रेशन होता है सन की हीट से, और वो माइक्रो स्मॉल 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 जो पार्टिकल्स में वो कन्वर्ट होता है और वाटर बॉडी में या सॉइल में वो एब्जॉर्ब हो जाते हैं. तो हामिद जी, आई थिंक कनेक्शन जो है बिल्कुल. हाँ सर, कंटिन्यू करें. हम लोग यही थोड़ा बैकग्राउंड बता रहे थे, आपका कनेक्शन
Sorry
थोड़ा सा.
for
जी.
connection.
जी.
Connectivity
जी.
was a little bit problematic.
जी. जी सर. हाँ.
But I was telling about the microplastics. So when the microplastics enter into the soil system or in the water system, they can pollute our uh, agriculture system in a way. And from that agriculture system, our cropping pattern will also get impacted. And from the cropping pattern, it will impact our food chain. There is no doubt about it. Evidences are there that there are lots of microplastics which are found in the fishes. There are ample evidences globally, and there is no doubt that those population which are dependent on fishes for the protein source or from marine life, so that is going to be impacted. So actual harm or the impact is under research, and we will come to know of this in the years to come, because it's a major plastic. Again, in these system microplastics, they have tendency to absorb lots of toxins. You won't believe it, even the rate of absorption on these microplastics of the toxins is very high in comparison to water. So when these microplastics absorb all kinds of toxins and they become a part of our food chain, it impacts the food which is which is being produced or which is being consumed. So again, it's a question of toxicity and where it is coming from and how
Yeah.
much.
So, Amit ji, how the government of India has so many regulations and the plastic waste management rules 2016, and again so many amendment, and also going to ban on the single-use plastic from the July 2022 onwards. Also, they have the provisions of extended producer responsibility (EPR). So, how these things can help the contain the this plastic menace that was.
Right. In fact, India had taken a lead when we imposed ban on the plastic bags, and that was about more than 10 years that we had this kind of ban. But in the meantime, what happened? We all know that the municipalities are loaded, or urban local bodies are loaded, and they are not uh, in a position to invest into the infrastructure development. Considering that government formulated a forward-looking policy in 2016 based on extended producer responsibility. And when we talk of extended producer responsibility, it is based on the polluter pays principle. And when we talk of producer pays principle, we make the major brands responsible, or the major producers responsible for the pollution, for catering to the pollution of the on account of the products which they are putting in the market. So EPR is a very EPR is a very forward-looking approach. Globally, it is being followed, and it is being practiced to contain the plastic pollution. When we look at our regulation, the approach is based on this principle, and we have formulated our regulation based on our requirement. And when we look at our requirement, we see that plastic waste management rules in 2016, they were the landmark based on this principle, extended producer responsibility principle. And when we look at our waste composition, we saw that whatever the type of plastics that is being littered is all low value plastics. And low value plastics, which means that that plastic does not have any value in terms of uh, recyclability. For example, if we look at PET, you will find PET, the very little PET in the waste chain. Why? It is because it has got its own chain of recycling, and it can be recycled. So waste which is being produced, for example, for the PET, gets recycled into other products. But what happens to the single-use plastics? So government came out with another amendment recently for single-use plastics, and where we have fixed the targets, 3-year target for taking care of these plastics and diverting this kind of waste into the chain, so that these plastics are not littered into the uh, land and finally find its way into the river systems. I would say the regulations, along with the ban on the different types of plastic products and supporting infrastructure, something which cannot be recycled has to be taken care of. And in the long run, till such time we have affordable and accessible alternatives to single-use plastics, there has to be a disposal system like incineration in the cement kilns, incineration in the waste to energy project, which can take care of such kind of waste.
Amitji, my one point is that in the most of the municipality, actually, the waste management, they are fund crunch actually in the municipality, because they are not the main. They are able to pay the salary and things like to the their staff, and they don't have funds for the kind of waste recycling, particularly the plastic waste recycling. So in that scenario, how the government is thinking about that to strengthen the municipality with respect to fund, so that they can have the proper way plastic waste recycling plant and the kind of collection system that.
So there are three approaches for this, and I feel the approach of uh, government is three-pronged. One is the primary infrastructure which is being provided by the ULPs. And when we talk about the ecosystem for any waste management system or for any kind of waste, first we see what is the primary system, and to what extent government can provide the infrastructure. That infrastructure has to be supported for with legal instruments like extended producer responsibility, where the brands are responsible for collection of within a particular geography, because they have to meet their targets of collection as well as treatment and disposal. And which means that a parallel system of collection by the brands will be supporting the government in this effort. The third thing which is important is uh, the awareness to use uh, other material items which have been developed for it. If you recollect during our childhood days when we were not having uh, so much of plastics, we used to have carry bags made out of cloth, and that was very durable kind of thing. And we used to have shopping bags also made out of cloth, which were reusable. So as an example, we have to create similar type of items which are affordable and which can be substituted for different kind of plastic items. So awareness about that, as well as uh, items, as well as usage or alternatives which are affordable, is the key to success. The third thing I would say that public-private partnership, we have to make it happen. Be it for the cement kilns, our industry has to come forward for supporting such kind of effort. For every city, like I mentioned about the critical mass, so we need to have different kinds of alternatives for the final disposal of such products. Say, for example, incineration in cement kilns or incineration in waste to energy plants. We also need to give incentives to the waste pickers. And when we see at the hierarchy of waste pickers, we see at the bottom the waste pickers, which generally they don't try to collect the low value items. So something needs to be done to bring the value of that low value plastics to a certain level that it finds attract the waste picker finds it attractive to collect such material and bring it for uh, treatment and disposal.
And that is why
We
I think in the plastic waste, the amendment rules, the thickness of the plastic, the carry bags has been increased 75, and again going to by December is 120 micron. That was the so that
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
So, design for recycling is again a very important aspect, which the government has tried to do by increasing the thickness. And that way, the recyclability of the material first can be achieved. And second thing would be that in our future products, whatever we design it in such a way that it is easy for recycling. So our education system or technical system need to gear up to design such products which are affordable and which can be recycled. So I generally say that design for recycling is very important.
Yeah. Amit ji, we'll have one or two question. As a like, what can we do as a citizen? Rules are there, EPR is there, and the problem is there. So, as a citizen, what can we do as a citizen? Our that you, though already you have briefed that, but like in this regard, but particularly the issue of the microplastic and in the entering the food chain, how can like as a citizen our responsibility of how what we can do that?
As a citizen or as a responsible citizen, we have a duty not to litter the place. And the sooner we understand it, the better it is for us and for our posterity. Second thing, there is something called citizen science. And citizen science initiative is very important. And when we look at the littering and the cleanup, citizens can come forward, first of all, to identify the littering place, why it is getting littered at a certain place. Is there a deficiency of the collection system? Or is it on account of our habit? that we have to identify, and each citizen in a particular locality has a responsibility to take care of its neighborhood. And that is from there the movement should start. And I feel that if we become a responsible, more responsible citizen, we are responsible citizen. If we want to give environment, or if we want to give a better place to our posterity, we need to be fulfilling our duty as a citizen. We should not litter, and we should try to discipline ourselves for that. Whatever the awareness, whatever other aspects are required to build the capacity of citizens needs to be done, and many NGOs in our country have taken a lead in this to make them aware. In fact, uh, there are a number of training programs which are happening
आई थिंक अमित जी का इंटरनेट का इशू है, और जैसा भी बता रहे थे कि ट्रेनिंग अवेयरनेस के साथ हमारे लिए बहुत ही जो इंडिविजुअल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है वो दिस इम्पॉर्टेंट है। रूल्स आर देयर और गवर्नमेंट अपने एफर्ट्स कर रही है। बचाए एज ए सिटीजन जो से प्लास्टिक मैनेस को अगर डेफिनेटली हमें देखना है कि हमारे आगे फूड चेन में ना आए और हमारे नॉट थ्रेट फॉर द फूड सिक्योरिटी और वाटर सिक्योरिटी। सो इसके लिए इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि हम इसके अल्टरनेट की तरफ जो है कोशिश करें, चाहे वो प्लास्टिक के कैरी बैग्स के अल्टरनेटिव्स हों, क्लॉथ बैग है, जूट बैग है, या अभी जो गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया इज गोइंग टू, जो आपने सभी जानते हैं, गोइंग टू बैन द मैन्युफैक्चर, इंपोर्ट, स्टॉकिंग, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन, सेल एंड यूज ऑफ सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक। सिंगल यूज मीन्स प्लास्टिक जो एक बार यूज करके डिस्पोज अप हो जाते हैं और कर देते हैं हम लोग हैं, उनको 1 जुलाई 2022 से जो बैन करने का डिसीजन ले लिया गया है। और उसके लिए जो डिफरेंट इंडस्ट्रीज़ को और डिफरेंट जो बिजनेसेस हैं इसमें इन्वॉल्व हैं उनको ऑलरेडी इन्फॉर्म कर दिया गया है कि उसमें जो आइटम्स इंक्लूड हैं, जो ईयरबड्स विद द प्लास्टिक स्टिक्स हैं, प्लास्टिक स्टिक्स जो बैलून्स में लगते हैं, प्लास्टिक फ्लैग्स हैं, कैंडी स्टिक्स हैं, आइसक्रीम स्टिक्स हैं, एंड जो थर्मोकोल हैं। और इसके अलावा जो प्लास्टिक के हम लोग बहुत से आइटम हैं जैसे कप्स हैं, ग्लासेस हैं, कटलरी है, फॉक्स हैं, स्पून्स हैं, नाइफ्स हैं, स्ट्रॉ है, जो इसके इस तरह की जो बहुत सी आइटम्स हैं जो कि हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं डिफरेंट। आजकल तो कल्चर इस तरह का हो गया है कि हम लोग सभी जो प्लास्टिक जो कप्स एंड प्लेट्स वगैरह को ज़्यादा यूज़ करते हैं, ये सभी 1 जुलाई से बैन हो जाएंगे। तो आप उसके अल्टरनेट पे जाएं। तो अमित जी से हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे वही। तो मीन टाइम आई थिंक अगेन उनका नेट का इशू था, तो ओवर टू अमित जी अगेन, प्लीज कंटिन्यू।
हाँ, तो when we start fulfilling our responsibility as as a citizen, then we should take care of this issue. We have seen in during our Corona days that citizens have really worked hard to implement the lockdown, and we should work in that spirit only. And we should take care of the waste, plastic waste, once we are there. We all know that from 1st July, like you mentioned, that plastic ban will be uh, there, and we need to take care of our single-use plastics. So we should see to it that we try to use alternatives like our cups, plates made out of metal or steel, and we try not to use the disposable items which are there, so that the pollution load is reduced substantially.
इसके अलावा अमित जी देखा गया कि नॉर्मली पहले भी जैसे आप स्वीट बॉक्स खरीदते हैं या आपको इनविटेशन कार्ड खरीदते हैं, उसके ऊपर हम एक अलग से जो है प्लास्टिक की जो है लगा देते हैं। इसकी जरूरत नहीं होती है, लेकिन फिर भी ये स्वीट बॉक्स के ऊपर एक रैपिंग लगा दिया, वो से प्लास्टिक वो भी अल्टीमेटली जब हम स्वीट बॉक्स खोलते हैं उसको फेंक देते हैं। या इनविटेशन कार्ड है उसको खोलते हैं तो वो तो चलिए, बट वो प्लास्टिक शीट निकाल के हम ऐसे इसमें डस्टबिन में डाल देते हैं। या इवन सिगरेट के पैकेट्स वगैरह पे भी, ये सब भी, ये सिंगल यूज, ये भी सब बैन जो है जुलाई से सब बैन कर दिए गए हैं। तो दैट इज गुड स्टेप जो है, बहुत अच्छा है ये, दैट वाज।
आप विश्वास नहीं करेंगे कि मेजर फूड चेन्स on their, or especially the mithai shops, I was very encouraged to see major brands or even the local brands. What they have tried to do, they have tried to devise a mechanism by putting a label that how EPR should work on their sweet box. So they are, if they are responsible for the plastic tray, so they try to provide some financial incentives that if you bring so many plastic trays, you will be paid some rupees per kg. So that's a very good development. Even the small producers or the small mithai shops can take care of the waste that is generated from their products.
Amit ji, my last question, जो everything now going to
I
be
found this.
जी जी अमित जी,
आप
आवाज आ रही जी?
आप कुछ बता रहे थे सर?
हाँ, मैं ये कह रहा था कि मेरा एक इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि जो मल्टी लेयर्ड जो प्लास्टिक्स हैं और जो मेटेलिक पाउचेस एंड टेट्रापैक्स, इनका इशू के लिए कैसे, बिकॉज इसमें गोइंग टू बी जो पर्टिकुलर चिप्स पैकेट है या इस तरह के जो और पाउचेस हैं जो मल्टी लेयर्ड हैं या मेटेलिक जिसमें है, वो उसके रिसाइकलिंग वेरी डिफिकल्ट, उसके लिए क्या प्रोविजंस गोइंग टू बी इन द फ्यूचर?
फ्यूचर में अगर हम देखें इसको तो मल्टी लेयर प्लास्टिक्स इज ए प्रॉब्लम, देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट इट. नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज, डू वी हैव द मैकेनिज्म टू कलेक्ट सच टाइप ऑफ प्लास्टिक्स? से गुटखा पैक्स, से फॉर एग्जांपल चिप्स के पैकेट, उसके बाद हम देखते हैं दूसरी चीज़ें. तो इनका क्या कुछ ऑल्टरनेटिव है या ऑल्टरनेट यूज़ है या नहीं? अगर नहीं है तो हम इंसिनरेशन में जा सकते हैं, और कंट्रोल्ड इंसिनरेशन विच इज नॉट हार्मफुल टू द एनवायरनमेंट इज डन ग्लोबली. ये है. अगर हम इंदौर का एग्जांपल लें, मतलब मैंने इंदौर का एग्जांपल देखा, मैंने ये भी देखा कि वहाँ पे जो पान शॉप है वो भी अपने साथ कंटेनर रखता है और उसमें भी एनकरेज करता है जो उसके यूज़र हैं वो अपना वहीं पे डिस्पोज ऑफ कर दें. और म्यूनिसिपैलिटी का कलेक्शन सिस्टम उसको बड़े अच्छे से सेग्रीगेटेड तरीके से उसको इकट्ठा करता है, एंड देन फाइनली इट गोज इनटू द चेन वेस्ट कलेक्शन. तो लिटरिंग एक तरीके से एड्रेस हो गई. और अगर हम डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स का देखें तो डिफरेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स में ये इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में हमने ये देखा कि MLP इज़ ए मेजर प्रॉब्लम, बट MLP कैन बी टैकल्ड अगर हम लोग लिटरिंग ना करें. उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी के हिसाब से अगर हम उसको ठीक जगह उसको डिस्पोज ऑफ करें, ठीक जगह उसे इकट्ठा करें और ठीक जगह उसको वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट चेन में ले जाएं, इट कैन बी यूज्ड एज ए गुड मटेरियल फॉर प्रोवाइडिंग more calorific value to the fuel.
तो जी आई थिंक वी हैव डिस्कस्ड हमारे जो आज इस पे प्लास्टिक पोल्यूशन और वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट पे, पर्टिकुलरली आपका जो वर्क है इम्पैक्ट ऑन दी रिवर्स एंड वाटर एंड फूड सिक्योरिटी, माइक्रो प्लास्टिक का, और उसके क्या अल्टरनेटिव हैं और कैसे हम सिंगल यूज को प्लास्टिक को जो बैन को उसके अल्टरनेटिव फाइंड कर सकते हैं, सो दैट कि हमारी जो बेसिक नीड्स भी पूर्ति होती रहे और प्लास्टिक पोल्यूशन से भी हमें जो एक तरह से जो हम प्रॉब्लम से मेहनत से जो जूझ रहे हैं उससे में भी हमें कमी है. और हम लोगों ने वी हैव डिस्कस दीज थिंग्स. तो आई थिंक दिस इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट जो आपने मैसेज दिया है कि इंडिविजुअल जो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. मेरा तो सर अमित जी एक वर्ड है, मैंने CSR की जगह एक नया वर्ड यूज किया, IER. हम CSR तो सबको पता है कि कॉर्पोरेट सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, हम दूसरों की बात करते हैं कॉर्पोरेट की, बट हमारी IER, इंडिविजुअल एनवायरमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, ये हम नहीं करते हैं। सो हमारा IER हम जब तक नहीं समझेंगे किसी चीज़ के लिए कि हमारी इंडिविजुअल हमारी इन्वायरमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्या है, तब तक हम कोई प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व नहीं कर पाएंगे। गवर्नमेंट के साथ मिलकर ही हम जो है करते, बट हमारी भी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है। तो आज हमारे व्यूअर्स ने ये बेस पे काफ़ी डिस्कस किया अमित जी का एक्सपीरियंस के साथ कि हम प्लास्टिक पोल्यूशन को कैसे जो है इसको जो है इस मेनेस को रोक सकते हैं, और जो इसका इम्पैक्ट है रिवर्स में हो रहा है, वाटर में हो रहा है, वाटर बॉडीज़ में हो रहा है, और हमारी कितनी वाटर बॉडीज जो इम्पैक्टेड हैं, ड्रेनेज सिस्टम इम्पैक्टेड है, सीवेज सिस्टम इम्पैक्टेड है, और फूड सिक्योरिटी में माइक्रोप्लास्टिक का क्या, ये सब लोगों ने देखा। तो आई थिंक हमारे व्यूअर्स इससे बेनिफिटेड होंगे, और ये कोशिश करेंगे कि आगे इसके जो भी अल्टरनेटिव है, इको फ्रेंडली अल्टरनेटिव्स को उसको यूज़ करें, और गवर्नमेंट के जो डिफरेंट जो रेगुलेशंस हैं, बैन है, उसमें पूरा सहयोग करें। तो इस मेहनत को हम मिल के ख़त्म कर सकते हैं। और यही एक डॉक्टर के अग्रवाल जी का यही था सोसाइटी के लिए, कि हमें सोसाइटी के लिए इंडिविजुअल और सबको करना है, और गवर्नमेंट के साथ मिलकर करना है, NGO भी मिल के करना है, इंडिविजुअल भी करना है। तो इसी के साथ वो मैसेज दिया था कि उन्हीं के कारण कि ये सो मस्ट गो ऑन, हम लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं आप सबके सहयोग से। और इसी के साथ अमित जी का, हमारे जो व्यूअर्स हैं DRK अग्रवाल पेज के यूट्यूब फेसबुक से जुड़े हैं, उन सबका धन्यवाद करते हुए इस मीटिंग को हम यहीं पे करते हैं। और आई थिंक ये मैसेज हम लेके जाएं, इसको आप जो है लिंक को आप और भी फ्रेंड्स से, रिलेटिव से शेयर कर सकते हैं, इस मैसेज को आगे बढ़ाएं, सो दैट कि ये प्लास्टिक जो फ्यूचर में मेनेस न बने, और अभी तक जो हम प्रॉब्लम हम फेस कर रहे हैं सिटीज़ में, वो कम से कम आगे ना रहे। इसी के साथ सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। नमस्कार। नमस्कार अमित जी।
धन्यवाद।